When buying a home in California, it's important to understand the role of property taxes in your monthly mortgage payment, or even just the overall affordability of the property over time. So in the 1970s, Prop 13 was passed, and it created a 1% base tax rate on all properties in California. In addition to that 1% property tax base, every single house that we purchase has additional assessments that are added on top of that 1%. And they can be for bonds that are passed by a local city or county, taxes that are added on. It usually has to do with things for schools or fire departments or things like that. Okay. And so typically a home that has been around for a period of time in the state of California will usually end up having about a 1.2 to 1.3% overall property tax rate. So if you were to buy $1 million home, then based upon that, your annual property taxes would be somewhere between $12,000 and $13,000 annually. If you buy that home and have a mortgage on it, typically that amount of money, that kind of $12,000, would be rolled into your monthly payment or included in your monthly payment, and it would be held in an escrow account, and then the lender or escrow account would pay your property taxes when they're due twice a year. But if you kind of break it down, a $12,000 a year tax bill is essentially $1,000 a month. So on $1 million property, you would typically have somewhere around $1,000 of your monthly payment just heading towards property taxes. Now, one of the things that gets really confusing to people is sometimes when you're looking at home communities, you might notice that they'll say something like no mellow roofs, or that there are mellow roofs. And so a lot of people are confused by this. They think that the special assessments, that 2%, that additional, 0.2 or 0.3% that we talked about above the 1%, that's the mellow roofs, but in fact, it's not. So mellow roofs have been created when communities are built so quickly that they need additional money from the property taxes to build up all of the required sort of things to manage that community. So it would be, again, for fire departments, for schools, for roads, for lights, for libraries, whatever it is that the city needs to build up its infrastructure quickly. And those mellow roofs tax usually have a limited amount of time, often 20 years or so. And then once that 20 years hits, then it would fall off the property taxes. And now the property tax percentage comes down. But what's important, really critical to understand about mellow roofs, is that typically when a property is in an area, and there'll be these beautiful areas that everybody wants to live in because everything's brand new and shiny, oftentimes the property tax base or rate annually is going to be more likely to be 1.6, 1.8, and even 2%. It's very common to see 1.9 and 2% total property tax bases in areas where there's mellow roofs. And if you think about that, if we go back to that $1 million example, instead of your annual taxes being about $12,000, they could very easily be $24,000. And so you end up paying $2,000 a month just for property taxes. So it's important to understand, when you are deciding on an area to live, and if you are looking in a newer community or a place where there appears to have been kind of a city that was built up very quickly, it's important to know how much those mellow roofs are going to be, what your property tax base is typically going to be in the community or area that you're buying in, and your real estate agent can definitely help guide you on that.